I'm basically just gonna go over a bunch of the WeakAuras I use for Hunter, which I made, I believe, all of them myself. I don't think I use any outside ones for this. Hunter's my main, so it's pretty much what I probably spent the most time on trying to fix up and make as perfect as I could for myself. Doesn't necessarily mean it will work well for everyone. It just works really good or really well for me. Um, I think some other people might be able to use them and find that they uh, like them for themselves as well, but ultimately it probably won't be for everyone. It also is really fitted to my UI, which isn't really complicated. It's just LUI with moving around some frames and a little bit of customization on what shows up. For instance, on player frames, I don't show aura bars because otherwise it would just clash with a bunch of the weak auras that are over here. On enemies, I don't really show dots or anything, I don't think. Uh, which wouldn't really matter though for marksman. You don't have any dots really. Pretty much everything. It's just this is just the basics like frame and target, and then energy in the middle, and then everything else basically weak auras for me. I'm just gonna start with the big bar that was in the center. Um, the main thing is like there's only a few things here, but this pretty much will work for beast mastery, marksman, and a little bit of survival. Not really so much survival though. I'm not sure it even loads for survival. It does, but um, this is for just like the primary skill of every spec. It'll be Chimera Shot if you're marksman, it'll be Kill Command if you're BM, it'll be Explosive Shot if you're survival. It does work for all of them in this one weak aura, you don't have to have separate ones. The Kill Shot will work for both marksman and BM. It obviously won't really work for survival. It might give you errors if you are survival. I don't really know. I haven't tested that because I just don't play it at all anymore. It's pretty much a dead spec as of right now. Um, it'll differ though with just the normal, like just the one weak aura for both BM and marksman. It checks what your spec is and then it'll evaluate uh, the same way like you expect it to. Like it'll do 35% health for marksman, 20% health for BM. Level 90 talent, it works for all three of the talents. Power shot, barrage, and glaive toss. It just figures out which of them you have and it shows you the cooldown and icon and everything uh, for whichever you did pick. And then primary CD again won't really work for survival. I'm not sure how it'll work if you are survival, because it's Bestial Wrath and Rapid Fire for BM and Marksman, and survival doesn't have a cooldown that I could have put here if I wanted to. That's pretty much it. Just those do everything for the most part. They switch by themselves. You don't have to do anything special. Um, Next is just a small GCD bar, or not GCD bar, but cooldown bar. Just the important things of the turns. It shows your stacks on top. I'll show you really quick. Shows the stacks you have on top and time left. It'll only show it if it's below 2 stacks. If you have no, if it's not on cooldown at all, it'll just won't show anything, and you'll know that you have 2 stacks. It just show counter shot is here. Arcane torrent. I think I have only blood off. Obviously, if you're a troll or something, you'll want to just change this to like berserking. Stampede and murder obviously only show if you're taking their given talent. Disengage and explosive trap. And then it's another cooldown bar. Less important things, more there, but they obviously don't all get shown. It'll only show these if they're on cooldown, and so it's just a bunch of the like utility kind of spells, stuff that you don't need all the time or need to like always be paying attention to. Um, which is why I don't show them at all times. It's things that like you want to know when they're on cooldown and see their cooldown remaining, but you don't need to know or need to see them at all when they're off cooldown, so I just hide it when it's not. The last group is like just a huge group for me. I'll try to just go through everything. Rapid fire obviously just shows you the time remaining on your rapid fire. This shows the bestial wrath for BM, and there's actually a smaller one above that shows the bestial wrath on your pet. Made that because of the tier trinket and how it lasts longer for your pet. So you still wanted to be able to track how long your pet had. Focus fire obviously just shows you the time remaining on your focus fire buff. This one, it, most people who had WeakAuras for BM, there was like a group that always would tell you when you should be casting rapid fire and stuff like that, or focus fire, because there was like certain criteria for when you should be casting it or when you should be saving it. I just put it all into one WeakAura basically, and just basically go through a checklist, and it'll change what, or it'll tell you like what you're supposed to be casting it for and stuff like that. If it says delay, that obviously means to delay it, and then it'll change to say like for Bestial Wrath or just 5 stacks or SMP, it'll change to tell you when to cast it. Frenzy stacks, this just I put on my focus bar, it just tells you the stacks and the time remaining. Beast Cleave just tells you how long of Beast Cleave you have left. Sniper training and recently moved, together you can just make sure you're trying to keep the buff up as much as possible. This is just a global cooldown bar, just quickly tells you, just obviously you have like 1 second of the bar every time, but you want to be able to see your actual GCD, which is something I wanted to mention actually. This bar with all of these spells, they do show the global cooldown sweep, at least these 3 do, this being off of GCD, so it wouldn't do that. These do show the sweep, so that most WeakAuras don't show sweep, like these down here will not. But since these are custom triggers, they actually do, which is kind of convenient, but not as needed since I have the bar anyway. This just shows you Lust. Thrill of the Hunt shows your stacks and time remaining. These are just trinkets. I like to see when they're up and not, and I just keep it grayed out basically when you don't have the buff at all. And then you just get a WeakAura that's obviously light and filled in and shows you the time remaining on when you actually have the buff. And I have it for multiple things. Ring, I have it set so this plays a sound actually when ring is popped. So you know like immediately you're not like, there's no disconnect there. And this just shows the cooldown. And then I have same thing for the trinket procs, but it's just the multiple scopes. The only problem with this is if you want, like mine are set up to only show, at least the grayed out ones are set up to only show when you're using a certain weapon. And that's because for me, these specific weapons have each of these different enchants on them or scopes. You could just delete that if you wanted and always have it, depending. And you could change this to never, or you could put your own weapon into it. More trinket procs. This is a bunch of pet stuff that is because I have my pet frame right here, which I can show you. It'll just show you the stance that they're in. It's so I could hide my pet bar down here rather than show it at all times, so I can still see information from my pet. This shows you Growl's cooldown, and it'll be grayed out if it's if it's off autocast, and it'll light up if it does have autocast on. The only problem with that is it requires you to have Growl on the 4th button for your pet, because that's the way I had to write it. I couldn't find a better way of doing it. I didn't really feel like spending more time on doing it, especially when I'm playing Lone Wolf currently and not really using a pet anyway. So if you have something else on the 4th button, it won't work how you're wanting it to, especially if that thing also is autocast. Like if I kept Growl here, or if I kept Dash here, it would screw up this WeakAura like a lot. It'll probably tell you that you have Growl on autocast when you might not, because Dash is on autocast. This just shows the cooldown of 2 of these spells, which is because they're 2 pets that I use sometimes, mainly when playing BM obviously. Out of the Phoenix, you don't really need it because you get the debuff anyway, but I just threw it down there. Multi-strike is more of something for survival, and I actually only load it as survival, because it used to be important to watch. If you do play survival, I guess that helps you. Steady focus, it's more of a BM thing since you don't use it in marksman or anything, but it just shows you the time remaining of the buff. It just yells at you if you have trap launcher on. This yells at you if you have the explosive glyph trap on, because obviously that's bad if you're like raiding and stuff. You don't want to like knock away ads. Um, it'll only load like it'll only trigger every time you're like entering a loading screen basically or changing areas. Um, so you'll probably, if you want it to trigger more frequently, you'll have to mess with it. It also loads for everything. So you could change it if you wanted, so it wouldn't load maybe for like arenas or something like that if you were ever using it for that. Otherwise, you'll have to deal with it popping up every time you enter an arena, or you could easily just trigger it to never load. These two are more for me personally, because sometimes I forget when I'm switching between BM and MM for anything, and I might be switching those trinkets around. Because the tier trinket's good for BM, but it's not good for MM. Same thing with the growl up here. This needs you to have growl on button 4, and it'll yell at you same way the explosive glyph does. It'll yell at you when you're entering a new instance or going through a loading screen if you have growl on while using your pet. It's because obviously hunters always have that problem of forgetting to turn growl off. I'm guilty of it here and there, so uh, I just made a WeakAura for it. Don't have to ever really deal with it. I don't use a pet anymore anyway, so it's not really a big deal. Cheetah just tells you to apply cheetah out of combat, just because there's no reason to have it off since you should have the glyph on anyway. So it just takes it off if you get dazed. So pretty much everyone, like you might as well put it on when you're out of combat. This will yell at you if your pet's dead, or you don't have a pet out and you're playing Beast Mastery. This one yells at you if you're a lone wolf and do have a pet out. This just is if you don't have a target, because here and there I've been caught paying attention to something else and maybe the ad I was focusing died, and so I don't have a target anymore and I didn't realize for a second. So made a really simple, stupid WeakAuras just to yell at me. Not extremely necessary. This one just announces in Battleground, Raid, Party, Say, like it'll say it in whichever one you're in, uh, that you threw down your binding shot anytime you casted it. It's just helpful, maybe, so you can announce it to your tank and they can know that you threw it down so they can stun everything using it. Where some tanks might not notice the binding shot animation and look on the ground, but maybe they'll notice the text and know what to do. That's pretty much it though. It's just a huge group. Um, some of these have a lot of custom triggers. Some things might break here and there, just because I don't remember exactly all the triggers since I wrote them a while ago. If there's problems, I could probably help you fix it. If you have questions on it, just let me know. I should be able to answer. If you like them, I hope they help. Other than that, thanks.